Greece is a very unique place that holds many interesting characteristics as a result of its location on the globe. The general size of this country is comparable to Alabama and is located in the lower part of Europe. Its Mediterranean climate is mild with wet winters and dry summers, its most outstanding characteristic being the extended periods of sunlight it receives. The climate is most important to plant life because it can be extreme and diverse, meaning the plants that grow there must be able to withstand these conditions. There are many shrubs and small bushy plants. In part, this is due to the nature of the soil. It is not fit to grow a lot of plants because it tends to be sandy and full of very finely ground rocks. In this picture, note that there are a few little shrubs that are growing between the rocky landscapes on the hill. This picture also hints at the fact that Greece is very mountainous. Globally, Greece is very close to tectonic plates. This accounts for many of the mountain ranges and volcanic zones, which also contribute to the soil composition. The other most important factor that contributes to Greek plant life is the fact that it is surrounded by water and possesses many islands. Ultimately, Greece has many endemic plants and animals for this reason. For example, here's an endemic plant that needs a lot of sunlight and a cold period to germinate, which is consistent with Greek weather conditions. In turn, this leads to endemic animals, making Greece's ecosystem very unique and important.
The ancient Greeks had several different types of gardens within their cities. The first, called a heron garden, was the memorial garden that was planted where a hero was buried. It contained a racetrack, called a hippodrome, as well as an area for gymnastic games and competitions in honor of the memory of heroes. In this picture, you can see the remains of the temple of Demeter, who is a grain goddess. The next type of garden in ancient Greece were philosophical gardens. They were created as a space for philosophical conversations to take place. They had wide alleys and spaces for statues, fountains, and vases. Additionally, some school lessons were conducted here. Ancient Greek philosophers like Socrates, shown here, spent time in these gardens. The third type of garden was the public garden, which was in the main area of the city and usually located near temples and fountains. In this picture of the ruins of a temple, it would have been common to see a public garden adjacent to it. The fourth type of garden is the private garden. Private gardens were owned by the wealthy and prosperous and usually had a utilitarian nature. Those that could afford it surrounded them with Greek-style colonnades, adorned them with bronze and marble statuary, furnished them with pools for ornament and swimming, and installed complex piping systems to supply fountains. The fifth type of garden is a nymph. A nymph is a sacred oak, cedar, or olive grove located in the center of an artistic water source or grotto with a regular planting style. Over time, columns and sculptures were added and enriched the nymphs. These places were thought to be inhabited by gods, which prompted people to bring sacrifices here. Lastly, pleasure gardens appeared after Alexander of Macedon victoriously marched into Persia. These gardens were created for the aristocracy nobles. Landscaping in ancient Greece had a strict symmetry, so the public parks were decorated with fountains, columns, vases, and sculptures. The types of trees planted were cypresses, fir trees, oaks, sycamores, palms, and olive trees. These trees decorated the temples and its dwellings with them. One specific garden, the Hellenistic garden, had many components to it. It had massive amounts of plants, spiral staircases, and many decorations.
In comparison to other art forms like sculpting, painting, and drawing, gardening in ancient Greece is often overlooked. We know little about ancient Greek gardens only through what we have found in literature and in artwork. The layout of ancient Greek cities was crowded and tightly enclosed politically, leaving minimal room for private gardens. Not much is known about those who were wealthy with palaces of their own and whether or not they had gardens. At a time of political instability, castles in Greece were usually fortresses packed between villages, again no room for gardening. A counterexample would be the city of Crete in ancient Greece. Royal families lived here without the interference of fortresses, so it is thought that they had room and time to garden. Decorations and artwork of the time indicates that they had a love for plants. Furthermore, the heroic poetry of Homer is divided into two distinct categories, gardens and sacred groves. Fruit-bearing trees were associated with the gardens, while non-fruit-bearing trees around the altar were associated with the sacred groves. In the sacred groves, a nearby spring is mentioned with the sacred tree in between this spring and the altar. Nemea, Greece, has the only known sacred grove found by archaeologists. These groves are heavily tied with religion and were sacred to the gods. There are certain trees associated with particular deities. For example, the oak tree is associated with Zeus, the god of sky and thunder, and the laurel tree is associated with Apollo, the god of music.
Modern Greek gardens incorporate the curved lines and geometric shaped paths of ancient Greek gardens, while introducing a variety of colorful flora to match the warm climate of Greece. The Greeks tend to use the color white to symbolize serenity and elegance. Modern Greek gardens display this love of white by using marble flooring as well as white benches and statues. Because of the high heat in Greece, modern gardens include light-colored stone and white walls to reflect the sun's heat. They also contain tall olive trees to provide shade and add a bold green color to complement the bright flowers. Modern Greek gardens also place value on water and may incorporate smooth stone steps leading to a fountain or stream. Modern gardens, as well as ancient gardens, use symmetry to create a sense of balance in the garden. The use of mirror image garden beds help to promote a calming focal point while walking through the scenic garden. The gardens that surrounded the Greek people in the past and today have impacted their lives, culturally shaping the landscapes and the people who inhabit them.